What's up, everybody? Paul here from the Hoops Crew, and it is Nuff of the Week time. Today, we are going to tackle the AFL's fixturing team, whoever it is that is putting, or whatever collection of people that is putting together the fixture for this back half of the season, because you need to lose your job. And I don't like to just throw that out there because the cost of living these days is difficult. It's hard to find a job. The marketplace is a very difficult one. Maybe just lose the job in that particular part. Find a different department within the AFL to go work in, because you are incapable of making a good fixture. And it is or not even making a good fixture, because the games themselves are locked in. But scheduling, like, how have you come to the conclusions that you've come to? And it's been best highlighted by the shit show that is round 20. Let's look at this. Hawthorn won by 24 points. Until this afternoon, as I've run to record this with St Kilda and Melbourne, this was the closest game of the weekend. And really, Hawthorn were just playing with their food for a while. They got the big lead early on, and they just toyed with their food for a bit. They could have won by a lot more. You've got the Bulldogs beating Essendon by 93 points. You've got GWS beating Sydney by 44. I don't think anyone expected this kind of a blowout, but it happened nonetheless. You didn't expect this sort of blowout either, but it is what it is. You expected Freo to flog West Coast. You expected Geelong to flog North Melbourne, the first 100-point win of the season. North Melbourne completely capitulating at this point. Adelaide with the biggest win of all time in a showdown. Collingwood also played with their food a little bit here with Collingwood. Could have and should have won by a whole lot more. And then the round was saved by this miracle that was St Kilda and Melbourne. But that also could have been a blowout. Melbourne led by 46 points at three-quarter time until St Kilda pulled out the greatest of all miracles. Finally, for us Geelong fans, the miracle on grass is not the most iconic comeback of all time. Finally, we can be spared of all of this. But there's more to it than just that. And there's more problems still looming that I want to talk about. But we'll do all of that after a word from our sponsor.
The Hoops Crew Media Network is proudly sponsored by Cyril Cook Florist. Visit them at shop 1211 Leather Street in Breakwater. Phone them on 035 222 2244 or visit their website at www.cyrilcookflorist.com.au and use the offer code GOCATS in the voucher field at checkout to get 20% off your next online purchase.
Thank you, Cyril Cook Florist, as always, for your ongoing support of the Hoops Crew and all we get up to. Now, let's continue on here. What I want to talk about is not only the results, because you can't always help those. And again, highlighted by probably those games between GWS and Sydney and Gold Coast and Brisbane specifically, where you wouldn't have tipped it. You also, at the beginning of the year, probably didn't tip Port Adelaide to have fallen in the heat that they have over the course of the season. But the problem that I've got is the timing of these matches, because these round 20 games were determined and outlined for the public 2 months or so ago now. I was trying to look for the date as it actually happened, but it looks like it was kind of May or thereabouts when it actually occurred. You knew that Carlton was stinking it up. You knew that Essendon was a basket case. You knew that North Melbourne was shithouse. And yet you still decided in 3 big primetime slots to put Carlton. You didn't know it was Sam Doherty's goodbye game, so sure, you probably got some decent numbers in the end, and the game was closer than you expected. Or than we all expected, sorry. But that was a fizzer. The big tentpole game of the Friday night. Of course, we did have the Sydney Smash, as I've been calling it. You did have the Essendon and Bulldogs game. That was another game that tanked, and that game was over almost immediately. Then you cast your eye to Saturday night, where you've got a showdown, and that could have been something big, but it wasn't. And your main game for Victoria, the primary audience, was North Melbourne, who've been perpetually on the bottom of the ladder for the majority of the last 10 years. What did you expect from these 3 matchups in particular? So again, Thursday night, Friday night, and then this Saturday night matchup. Meanwhile, and again, you didn't know that the games were going to end in blowouts, but meanwhile, you've got the Gold Coast and Brisbane game. Knowing that the Gold Coast were in white-hot form, the Brisbane were the reigning premiers. You could have put that Saturday night and made that a really fascinating one. You could have decided not to double up on Friday night games and give GWS and Sydney an opportunity on Saturday night. Sydney, the previous grand finalist, GWS having been there or thereabouts for years and, still a really good, strong team. But no, you chose North Melbourne and Geelong. Now, I love Geelong. I love seeing my team in prime time. But even as a Geelong supporter, I look at it and go, sorry, why? I looked at that game before they announced the fixture and thought, this is a great opportunity. My son hasn't gone to Marvel Stadium yet. And he goes to bed at like 7:30 at night. So we'll be able to go and see a day game and get him home for bed. And then Geelong, the game was made a primetime game for no logical reason. Absolute basket case. Morons at the AFL making these decisions. And then, just to round this whole argument out, it is round 20. 27th of July as we record this. Round 24, the final round, still is not confirmed yet. It is a month away. And there's this, and just to highlight the insanity of the whole thing, you've got this variable that is Essendon, whatever, they're going to lose twice in a round. Only they could manage that at this point. Well, one of them's Carlton. Who knows? Maybe an upset. But Gold Coast, who are vying for a top 4 spot, very much have it in the gun and have 2 very winnable games in the final round. Don't know when they're going to be played yet. And they are going to have a disadvantage against whoever it is they play against in the first week of finals, be it home or away, because their break is going to be a good 2, 3, maybe 4 days less than their opponent because they're going to have to play 2 games. Now, the AFL could not have factored in a cyclone that derailed derailed opening round. And they got very fortunate in that Geelong and Brisbane had their bye at the same time. They were able to sort it out in round 3. They weren't so fortunate when it comes to Gold Coast and Essendon. I get all of that. But block it in, give teams, the key team in this case, Gold Coast, the opportunity to prepare sufficiently for this week. And for Essendon, it's just, they've already had a horrific season. They are completely decimated players-wise, and now you're asking them to play twice in a matter of 6 days. Off the back of round 23 as well, which, that's going to be tight between that and then the first game of round 24 and then again their final game of round 24. Like, it's just bullshit. How is it that we don't have details for these games yet? A month out. All of these teams are trying to manage, especially the ones heading towards finals. And there's 9 teams that are still vying for this race. They are trying to manage their players. They are trying to make sure that they hit the ground running at the right time for a charge towards premiership glory. And they don't know when they're playing the final game of the season. Fans want to be able to buy tickets. I am a Geelong supporter. My son wants to go to as many games as we possibly can. I presume this is going to be a day game between Geelong and Richmond, but it may not be based on Geelong and North Melbourne this past weekend. I want to know what I can tell my kid, because we were thinking about going to some games recently. We were thinking about going to this one. And I said, no, it's all right. We'll go to the one between Geelong and Richmond in a few weeks because it'll probably get played during the day. But it may not. How do you not have this in place yet? And I'm wagering that it'll probably get announced this week. I'm sure by the time this goes to air, we're like 24 hours away from it. Maybe it's even happened by the time this video drops. But it shouldn't be the case. We shouldn't be less than a month out. And again, looking at these dates, we're talking about a month or so to the weekend anyway from these games. And we don't know when they are. We know where they are. We know that, there's a couple MCG games. We know there's a couple games at Marvel. Like, we know the home team. We know their opponent. We don't know when they're playing. It's ridiculous. And again, the team most affected by this, in my mind, is the Gold Coast Suns. If we talk about just through the football lens and not the fan lens, The Gold Coast Suns, it's absolutely ridiculous for them that they don't know when they're going to be playing because they are trying to fight for a top 8 and then potentially a top 4 spot. And they just can't plan because the AFL won't pull their finger out of their ass and make the announcement, make the call. They either haven't decided or they're scared of whatever they're going, whatever the reception is, what they're going to announce, and they're holding off. It's pathetic. So the individual or group of individuals that are organizing our fixture for a multitude of reasons, you are shit at your job and you are the nuffs of the week this week. I've already ranted and raved a little bit during the Paul James show in the last few days, and please go check out the Thursday night episode where I really tipped into that, and the Monday night episode as well. Actually, I think please go check those out, and you'll kind of hear some very raw thoughts on the spot, and a lot of other thoughts and opinions around it where I could kind of be more expansive and more fleshed out in my thoughts. There, please go check it out. But the team responsible for our fixturing is a joke. Absolutely, or the scheduling of our games is a joke. Sort it out. Be better. This is crazy. And it's a bad look for our game when we have so many blowouts in prime time, no less. That's where we'll wrap things up for this entry of NUFF of the Week. Thank you for tuning in and checking it out. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to subscribe to the Hoops Crew on YouTube. Chuck this video a like. Share the video with your friends and family. Share the channel with your friends and family. Get the word out there about the Hoops Crew. Get more people subscribing. We want to build this community and make more videos for you. We're on Patreon, patreon.com/thehoopscrew. You can subscribe for a 7-day free trial period. See all the early access, exclusive, and extended content there. See if it's for you. And if you like it, it only costs $5 a month to continue to get it delivered directly to your email inbox. You'll find me on socials at Paul James Games. That's Twitter, Blue Sky, and Instagram. The Hoops Crew is at The Hoops Crew. And until next time, remain Geelong strong, everyone. AFL Fixturing Department, Scheduling Department, you're a bunch of nuffs. Do your job for the love of God. It's not that hard. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you later.